Many African spiritual traditions and scientific perspectives connect the coiled spiral structure of black hair to cosmic energy, spirituality, and the universe. This belief is deeply rooted in both ancient knowledge and modern science. Spiritual and cosmic connection. 1. The spiral as a sacred shape. The coil or spiral is a fundamental shape in nature, seen in galaxies, DNA, hurricanes, and seashells. Many African cultures believe this spiral represents divine energy and the connection between the physical and spiritual realms. 2. Hair as an antenna. Some traditions see tightly coiled hair as a natural antenna that receives and transmits spiritual energy, much like how antennas pick up radio signals. 3. Connection to ancient Egypt, Kemet. In ancient Kemet, Egypt, woolly hair was often associated with higher consciousness and wisdom. The afro-textured hair of the Sphinx and other statues was seen as a sign of divine intelligence. Scientific perspective. 1. Electromagnetic properties. Some researchers believe the spiral shape of coiled hair helps absorb and retain energy, similar to how coiled copper wires conduct electricity more efficiently. 2. Sun protection and energy efficiency. Black hair, with its dense coils, protects against UV radiation while also trapping heat and maintaining the body's energy balance. Cultural significance. Many African cultures associate long or well-maintained natural hair with wisdom, strength, and spiritual power. Locks, afros, and natural hairstyles have been seen as sacred expressions of identity and divine connection. Some believe hair is linked to the crown chakra, which is associated with enlightenment and higher consciousness. The erasure of this knowledge. During colonialism and slavery, black hair was often demonized and suppressed, with Europeans enforcing standards that disconnected black people from their natural spiritual connection. However, the natural hair movement today is about reclaiming that ancestral and cosmic power. The idea that black hair is directly connected to the cosmos isn't just a myth. It reflects both spiritual wisdom and scientific truth. The coiled structure mirrors the universe itself, showing that black people are literally in tune with the divine forces of nature. There is a strong theory that the Greek myth of Medusa may have been influenced by encounters with African women, particularly those with locks. Some scholars suggest that when ancient Greeks traveled to Africa, they were both fascinated and intimidated by the cultures they encountered, leading them to reshape African imagery into their own mythology. Possible African origins of the Medusa myth. 1. Dreadlocks resembling snakes. Ancient African civilizations, including those in Egypt and Nubia, had people who wore locks or intricate braided styles. To foreigners unfamiliar with this, the thick, coiled strands of hair could resemble writhing serpents, especially from a distance. 2. The Gorgon and African queens. Some believe Medusa's image was inspired by powerful African priestesses or warrior queens, whose hair symbolized spiritual strength and divine power. 3. Fear of African power. In Greek mythology, Medusa was seen as both beautiful and terrifying, a figure that could petrify men with her gaze. This could symbolize how early Europeans felt threatened by the power and presence of African women, both physically and spiritually. 4. Libya and the Greek connection. The Greeks associated Medusa with Libya, which was part of North Africa. The historian Diodorus Siculus even suggested that the Gorgons were a real African people. Erasure and demonization. European colonization often took African symbols, gods, and traditions and demonized or distorted them. If locks symbolized spiritual strength and divine energy, portraying them as snakes and turning the image into a monster could have been a way to strip that power away, reclaiming the symbolism. Today, many recognize that locks are not just a hairstyle, but a spiritual and cultural symbol. In African traditions, they represent wisdom, strength, and a connection to nature and the ancestors, far from the cursed image the Greeks portrayed. So, whether Medusa's origin was directly linked to African women with locks or not, the fear and fascination Europeans had with African beauty and power is undeniable. The intimidation that European societies have historically felt toward black women comes from a mix of racism, colonialism, and the fear of black power, beauty, and resilience. This intimidation isn't just about physical appearance, it's about the strength, intelligence, and cultural depth that black women carry. 1. The fear of black women's power. In many African societies before European colonization, black women were leaders, warriors, queens, healers, and intellectuals. Figures like Queen Nzinga, Angola, a fierce military strategist who resisted Portuguese colonization. Ya Asantewaa, Ghana, led the Ashanti resistance against the British. Nyanda Nyakasikana, Zimbabwe, a spiritual leader who fought against European rule. These women challenged European dominance, proving that Black women were never passive or weak. That's intimidating to a system that wanted to portray Africa as primitive. The hypersexualization and dehumanization of Black women. During slavery and colonialism, European societies hypersexualized Black women while simultaneously trying to degrade them. This was a way to justify exploitation, like the horrific treatment of Sarah Baartman, who was paraded around Europe as a freak show attraction. Diminish their power by reducing them to objects rather than intellectuals or leaders. Instill fear and fascination. Many European men were both attracted to and threatened by Black women's confidence and beauty. The erasure of African beauty and culture. Europeans have long tried to control the narrative of what is beautiful and civilized. They stole African artifacts while claiming Africa had no culture. They forced Black women to change their hair and appearance to fit European standards. They promoted Eurocentric beauty ideals while dismissing the natural beauty of Black women. Yet, despite centuries of erasure, Black women continue to set global beauty and cultural trends. Another reason for intimidation. The strength and resilience of Black women. Black women have survived slavery and colonialism, systemic racism and sexism, economic and social oppression. And despite all this, they continue to thrive, innovate, and inspire. That level of resilience and unbreakable spirit is intimidating to any system built on oppression. The real reason European societies have historically feared Black women is because they recognize their power, influence, and divine energy, something they could never fully control. Black women are the mothers of civilization, the keepers of knowledge, and the embodiment of strength. And that has always been threatening to those who seek dominance. The historical dynamics between white and Black men are complex and deeply rooted in colonialism, slavery, and racial hierarchy. European colonial powers often viewed African societies through a lens of dominance, using ideas of racial superiority to justify exploitation. During slavery and segregation, myths were created to portray Black men as threats, reinforcing social and economic control. In more recent times, media portrayals, economic competition, and cultural stereotypes have played a role in continuing these perceptions. Fear and intimidation often stem from deeply ingrained biases rather than actual threats. That kind of control has historically been about maintaining power. Colonization, slavery, and segregation relied on breaking the spirit and autonomy of Black men to uphold white dominance. This was done through psychological tactics like propaganda that dehumanized Black men and physical violence, including literal castration in some cases, to instill fear and suppress resistance. By stripping people of their agency, European powers justified oppression while maintaining economic and social control. Even today, systemic structures carry echoes of that history, shaping disparities in justice, wealth, and representation. Black men in Africa have a long history of greatness, leadership, and innovation across various civilizations. From powerful kings to skilled warriors, scholars, and builders, they shaped societies that thrived long before colonial interference. In West Africa, the Mali Empire, led by Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, was a center of wealth, trade, and scholarship. Timbuktu housed one of the world's oldest universities, attracting scholars from across the globe. The Kingdom of Kush, south of Egypt, had warrior kings who even ruled Egypt as pharaohs. The Zulu kingdom under Shaka Zulu demonstrated military brilliance, reshaping African warfare. In the Congo and Great Zimbabwe, advanced architecture, mining, and trade flourished. Black men in Africa were not just warriors. They were also scientists, astronomers, and diplomats, building societies that influenced the world. Here are some great African kings. Mansa Musa, Mali Empire, 1312 to 1337. Known as the richest man in history, he expanded the Mali Empire, promoted education, and made a famous pilgrimage to Mecca, distributing so much gold that it affected the economy. Shaka Zulu, Zulu Kingdom, early 1800s, a military genius, he revolutionized warfare in southern Africa, uniting the Zulu people into a powerful kingdom. Sundiata Keita, Mali Empire, 1235 to 1255. The founder of the Mali Empire, he defeated the oppressive King Sumaworo Kante and established one of West Africa's greatest empires. Oba Awor the Great, Benin Kingdom, 1440s to 1473. A visionary leader who expanded the kingdom, improved governance, and advanced the famous Benin bronzes art tradition. Sani Ali, Songhai Empire, 1464 to 1492, a warrior king who expanded Songhai, turning it into West Africa's most powerful empire by controlling trade routes and rivers. Askia the Great, Songhai Empire, 1493 to 1528, a great administrator who strengthened Islamic learning, trade, and governance in West Africa. Menelik II, Ethiopia, 1889 to 1913, defeated the Italians at the Battle of Adwa in 1896, ensuring Ethiopia remained the only African nation to resist colonization successfully. Nzinga Mbande, Ndongo and Matamba, 1624 to 1663. Though a queen, she ruled as a warrior leader in present-day Angola, resisting Portuguese colonial expansion. These are just a few of the powerful leaders who shaped Africa.
Before leaving the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe bell and hit the like bell. It helps the channel grow. Thank you.